So, thank you so much, Walt, for coming on to our very first podcast. We've decided to name the podcast Adrian and Julie. We were very creative. Or the No Name podcast. So we know that like you and Adrian have had, this kind of relationship that's been very organic. And like, can you just tell us how you guys met and, what your connection is?
Yeah, totally. Thank you for having me on the podcast today, and I'm sure Adrian can fill in some blanks. I can't actually recall when we sort of connected. It might have been through TikTok.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's about a year ago.
Yeah. So I only started the TikTok channel at the start of 2021, and I was just uploading the science videos, so a lot of pretty much everything under the microscope, and I was just uploading those, and as the following, I guess, sort of grew, I noticed that Adrian just started following the channel, and sometimes I like to look and see what other content creators are doing, and that usually pops up in my field of view. If someone's following the channel, I'll click on their account. More often than not, actually, I'm always looking at what sort of content is out there, and just fell in love with Adrian's stuff straight away. Places in Sydney that you must visit, and it's such a it just really captured me. I guess growing up near Sydney, I've always loved traveling up there when I get the chance, and just to have this wealth like this, just this collation of places that you got to go to, and these are not just like your I guess your superficial sort of places, the ones that if you type in what's the place to go to on Google in Sydney. Adrian's channel is just so much more, and it really goes into the heart of Sydney, and I think your channel, Adrian, is just pulling results that you just wouldn't get from a Google search.
Yes.
It's
I
try. Yeah,
I try.
It's kind of like the heart. It's got the pulse of it. You know what I mean?
I've never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
Now that you mention it, I feel like that should be my tagline. It's the heart of Sydney.
It's true, because when you think about when you type into Google, what's a place to go see, you're going to get your Harbour Bridge, like Opera House, and maybe a few eateries around there that are really big, well established. I think people like myself and others around the area and who are visiting, we really want that really good ramen, or that really good, that tucked away secret spot that you've done the hard work and you found, and that's why people love it. I love it. And it just gives me like I favorite the videos that I want to go to, like, and I'll just like, okay, when I'm in Sydney, I'll go.
It's good that we have favorites now, so it's differentiate with likes.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my God, you should be my rep.
It's so true though. Like Adrian was saying, oh look, there's a really good, pork roll place.
Yes.
And I'm from Cabramatta, and Cabramatta is like the mecca of pork rolls. And then he said, no, you haven't tried a pork roll until you try this one. And then it's just, it's true because you think about it, and you've done the like heavy lifting.
Yes. To cut. No, but in terms of you, I definitely I think back then or right now still your signature is the water bears and the tardigrades, right? And it's the cutest little thing ever. And I think it really blew my mind as to like the universe that you exposes us to.
Yeah.
Like it's completely a universe that we wouldn't have seen, or especially the TikTok community. They're literally, you're one of those people that makes TikTok not only an entertainment platform, but an actual learning platform. And I think that's because I've always seen TikTok as a learning platform, and content creators like you are what makes TikTok just a step above and beyond of just a social media platform. Because I know for a fact, because I have a rep at TikTok, and they don't want to be called as social media platform. They want to be called as a entertainment and a learning platform. So you're it. You're a learning platform guru.
And like, how did you start, Walt? Like, how did you start on TikTok? Like you said, your journey in a very short amount of time has kind of accumulated to millions of followers. Like, how did you kind of start and like B, kind of keep consistent through it all?
No, thank you. Very kind words as well. I really appreciate that. In terms of the water bears are absolutely, they're just an absolute hit. I love them as well. And I was just so stoked when I found my first water bear under the microscope. I didn't really know much about them until I started looking into them, researching. So in love with them ever since. They've been awesome. In terms of the journey, how did it all start? It was actually, TikTok was around, so 2021, TikTok would have just been sort of really getting into people, in front of people, I think. It's in Australia at least. So it was still getting, people were still sort of testing the waters with it. A lot of people were adopting it pretty quickly. And I came in, I would like to think, at sort of an early stage where TikTok might have had something maybe under 5 million users in Australia.
Yeah, there were 2 million users back then. I started then too.
Yeah. So it was a really good time, I think, to just jump on and start content creating in Australia. And the whole, it sort of came about because my sisters were using TikTok, and they're a bit younger than I, so they're up to date with like latest sort of trends and apps. And they said, you got to have TikTok. And I was like, oh, I've heard of it. I'll have a look. Immediately hooked. And I'm sure you'll agree, you just get that constant roll of in front of you. So I was just hooked straight up. And very quickly after downloading it, I realized that it had in-house video editing software.
Yeah.
And the craziest thing about the software is that it was exactly what I was after maybe 10 years ago because I've always wanted to create videos. I just didn't have the right software, and I just wanted something really basic. I just need to film. I point the camera in the right direction, and then I just edit the clips by just simply shortening them and stitching them together.
Yeah.
TikTok's in-house software is just perfect for that. You can do voiceovers. It doesn't really require much editing, I think, for the stuff that I do.
Yeah.
And that's all I needed. And a lot of the programs I was looking into back in the day, the free versions, because I was a poor uni student and I just didn't have the money to invest in a subscription or something like that. And they'd often come with ads or potential viruses for your computer. So I just never really looked into it too much. And then, TikTok comes along. It's exactly what I was after. And I started pretty much just having a play around with it. Uploaded my first video, which was Salt Under the Microscope. And did exactly what I wanted, and I uploaded that video. And I think I didn't get a world of reception for that video. It was just video footage of the salt and under the microscope. And it was pretty shaky as well because I'm trying to hold my camera and focus it up with the microscope. And I knew that the TikTok videos were going to have to be more consistent, and so I started uploading one video every day of something on the microscope. And then it just sort of, I think I hit a viral video because my technique got a little bit better. I started.
What was it? Do you remember the first one?
Yeah. What would you consider actually a viral video? Like how many views?
Well, so in terms of generally anything above a million, I suppose.
Yeah. Cool. So I think videos gained traction when I started looking at food under the microscope.
Yeah.
I looked at a hot dog under the microscope, or Devon or something like that.
Yeah.
And I found a bit of microplastic, or what I thought it appeared to be microplastic. You need to have further chemical analysis to confirm, but it was pretty consistent with what a microplastic shard would look like. And I think that video might have got about 300,000 views, and that was a big thing for me.
Oh yeah, I think when I started anything above 100,000, I'm like, what?
Yeah, exactly. And then I believe it would have been someone asked. That's when people started asking me to look at certain things, and someone asked me to look at the inside of a cigarette.
Yeah.
And I uploaded. I bought a pack of cigarettes and I looked at them under the microscope. And the first video I uploaded for that was actually it was a cigarette. Filling, looked at a bit of the dried tobacco, and I just had music over the video.
Yeah.
And I uploaded the video thinking really not much of it because I just think, well, this is a real thing. Like anyone can access a microscope, anyone can access a cigarette. Most, if you're over 18 and that in Australia, and anyone can look at it. I'm just showcasing this, and the video got just within about a minute, it had 4,000 views, and I've never had that happen before.
Yeah,
and that was scary. And then I started thinking, well, hang on a minute. I am a scientist by education and training. I haven't really portrayed this in a nice sorry, I haven't portrayed this in a concerned sort of way. And I think then I sort of started to think, well, I know a lot of young people use the app. Is this putting cigarettes in a good light or a bad light? Because it actually looked really interesting, and it didn't really showcase any negative side effects.
Anything.
So I took the video down immediately, and I re-uploaded, but I did my voiceover, and I did a bit of research, and turns out a lot of the chemicals that I've used as a scientist in the lab, also in cigarettes. And in the lab, in a lab setting, we have a big fume hood that just sucks up a lot of the chemicals, so you don't have to breathe those in. But a cigarette is quite obvious. You are breathing those in. Yeah. So I did that sort of take on it, and I just said, look, cigarettes have a lot of bad chemicals, cancer-causing agents. We all know that. And that was the message that I put over the top of the video. And the video still went viral. I think a lot of people were sharing it with people that they knew who maybe wanted to quit smoking and things like that. And I think because of that, I was a bit unapologetic when I did the video. I think that's what caused it to go viral. It was it was a pretty strong statement, pretty bold, and just putting it out there, and it just got shared a whole bunch. And that was really just a very scary experience to have something go viral like that.
Yeah,
to just travel to all ends of the earth. If you have, with
how many views did it ended up getting?
I think it got about close to 4 million.
Yeah. Wow.
And for going from maybe about 1,000 views at most to just something 4 million was very scary, and it was happening very quickly.
Yeah.
As well.
And did you grow with that as well?
Yeah.
Quickly?
You bet I did. Yeah, that was when I was waking up to 50,000 followers, 100,000 followers.
Yes.
And it just kept going and going. And whilst it was really scary, a scary experience to have that, it was exciting at the same time. You get a strange high, or an elated feeling.
Oh my God, it's fun. It's like you're mirroring my feeling back then. Yeah.
It's like you guys have a support club going on.
Yeah, you get this elated feeling that you're just like, that was pretty surreal. And to see this, so many people just reach out. I had companies coming to me just trying to reach me any way they could, just to say, can we put your video on our platform, anti-smoking? People want to do that. And those kinds of videos still have an impact today. This was a year ago, and those videos are still having impacts today. In fact, if it wasn't for that video, I wouldn't have had the chance to work with the World Health Organization and do a campaign for them a while ago. And make a video for them, which again, it was an anti-littering, anti-smoking one, and they put it on their Instagram, and it got 6 million views. Over. So it was just such a surreal experience. It opened up a lot of different avenues, connections, networks.
One video, all it takes.
And how do you guys keep on going? Once you go from 1,000, and then the realization that it's gotten millions of views. How do you keep it consistent, and how do you keep it going and not kind of not burnout, but almost just how do I keep the creative juices going? Because I imagine it would be quite a task on you,
Yeah. Adrian, if you have any comments, feel free to add as
well.
Yes.
But it sounds like we're sort of mirroring what experiences here. And I think so as I noted, it is exciting to get that viral video, and it kind of leaves a bit of a taste in your mouth, and you want to have that again.
Yeah.
So in a way, you don't want to falsify results, particularly as a science channel. There's the big no. That is the worst thing.
You did it as a parody. I saw with the plastic microplastics. I love it.
Yeah, I'm gonna bone. That's a. Yeah, there's a bit of microscope turf, I think, happening at the moment. I've seen
turf wars with the microscopes.
It's getting pretty serious. I think we're going to have to consider boxing matches soon or something.
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah, so I think that you kind of want that virality again once you've had that, and it sort of slows down a little bit over time. You do know that once the viral video sort of settles a bit, you get less and less followers, and you're still pumping out content, but it's not getting that reaction. So there's the temptation to go and as I said, with the microscope channel, science channel, you do not falsify results. That is huge no, don't do that. Very bad. And I think for any content creator, just to try and create artificial views, it's not helpful to you in the long run, I think, as well. You want your loyal followers who are just going to be there and they really love your content, and you can lose some really high value people when you start to create fake stuff. But I think for me as a content creator, I have learned, looking at my videos back then and now, I do exaggerate a little bit sometimes. You got to have a good hook to get someone in. But in terms of the creativity, I think it's just you've had that experience. As I mentioned, it's a bit of a high, and you really enjoyed the hype that it just created, and you can see the influence that it had. So in that video case, I had people telling me they're going to try to stop smoking. Yeah. It was very powerful.
Wow.
That experience, and to see that influence. You don't realize the influence that you have as a creator, but it's massive, like it's huge. And so, yeah, for that reason, I think it challenges you to continue to try to create the next viral video. My take on it is to try and create and contribute a good viral video, one that's going to just create that hype or engagement in science as well. And those viral videos sort of, I think, also shape the direction of the channel and give you that voice as a content creator.
Yeah. But I bet for you, like I can just see like children being inspired to learn about science, like looking at your content. But I do notice, like with you, from just talking to you right now, the amount of effort that you put into a single video is unlike mine. Like, so the amount of mental capacity required to just produce one video for you would just be unsurmountable in comparison to mine. So I wouldn't be able to compare the stress that you have to compare to mine.
Yeah, like do you have like a set calendar, or, you know, how does your day look like? And
now
what does it
given
look
that
like?
you work full-time, right?
Yeah, and you're working full-time as well. Like, how does it all look like?
Yeah, so as you know, I do have a full-time job. I find that actually the the content creation it actually does recharge me a bit, because it's my own interest, and I can. I think I've always grown up with the kind of person that I'm happy to just tinker with things on a desk and look at things, and I can spend hours under a microscope, like looking through a microscope. And so I do get I recharge when I do that, and it's not too much trouble to set up a bit of a video as well and film it. It does take a lot of time, as you know.
Fact checking.
Sorry?
Fact checking, like fact checking.
Yeah. And I generally know that when I do press publish, that's it. Like it's out there. Like I can't always take the video down, but you just have to assume as soon as you press publish, people have copies of it. And that can just continue to go around the internet.
Do you get nervous before you hit publish?
Yeah, I'm always checking the drafts before I watch them about 3 or 4 times before I upload. Sometimes I'll get my sisters, like I'll do a screen record and I'll send the video to my sisters, or just to check, see if I've said anything a bit off as well. And particularly when if I'm also looking at maybe something that could have a cultural sort of impact as well, like it could have cultural significance that needs to be taken, like, you know, extra steps that need to be implemented to make sure that I'm paying homage to the right groups as well. And particularly recently I was looking at some traditional medicines like tea tree oil.
Yes. I love that video.
Yeah, we were talking about it before you came on. Like Adrian was saying that you use like bleach and tea tree oil to kind of work out how to get rid of bacteria.
Sure.
So how did that come about? And, you know, what's the best way to get rid of stains and dirt?
Sure. So, so those videos do need a bit of research as well. In terms of the bacteria run, I don't know what sort of in the bacteria series, if you call it that. I think maybe I had good reception from the first one that I did. I also have I have the capacity to look at bacteria. I think it's really interesting as well under the microscope. So I thought as well, you know, it might be really cool to see sort of cleaning products in action. Maybe someone dropped a comment ages ago to say, can we look at people? It's actually a lot of the content inspiration from my channel is definitely from the fans and followers. They're the true scientists, because they've got those questions that you might not get answered at uni or school.
Yeah.
And it is a bit of fun as well. And definitely take those videos with a pinch of salt. So in my setup where I have my little bacteria and I introduce salt water, and you see the salt water just almost kill the bacteria.
Yes.
That's generally based on maybe a bit of experience as well. Like when I've had, toothaches, I'm usually just gargling some salt water, and I find that actually helps the problem. And we know that salt water does have a positive effect. And it's not a good condition for things to grow in because it's just too salty. It dehydrates and can do a lot of damage to microorganisms and the like. So generally, there's also a bit of research. I'll make sure that anything I publish can be backed up with a journal article as well.
Yeah, because you just think of like, you kind of think of old wives' tales, don't you? Like, my mum was always like, gargle it with salt water. And then you just kind of think like...
You should do an old wives' tale series.
Even like Chinese medicine, you're like, does this work? Like it certainly smells like it works, but does it, what does it do to, what's inside your body?
And look, there's a wealth of knowledge there that, we should consider as well. And I think when I was doing my research actually at the University of Wollongong for my PhD, one thing I found was that it was considered the golden era of drugs and medicine. And I believe it would have been around the 90s to 2000s. And I think there was some staggering statistic. It was more than 50% of pharmaceutical products were based on a compound found in nature. And a lot of natural products do have chemical entities that will have antimicrobial, fungal effects. And pharmaceutical researchers, as you know, Adrian, they come along and they might just tweak it a bit, change it a little bit here. But it's definitely it saved millions and millions of dollars by having already a base structure to work on. To start from scratch and try and figure out what is going to work and what isn't costs so much money. And it's just natural products and extracts will already give a bit of an advantage. So for that reason, traditional medicines do have a very important place as well. And I think for that tea tree oil video in particular, it was just really important that for me personally, that I do give credit to the Australia's first scientists, those who've I'm talking about the indigenous cultures here, who have invested thousands of years of trial and error to find those extracts that do have those properties.
And has your eating habits changed since?
Good question.
Since doing all of this,
do you still eat sausage?
Honestly, I kind of fear. I don't even go near like anything. I'm like, I love a hot dog too much. I just can't. I can't watch it.
Yeah, no, they haven't changed. I don't know whether it's I'm just desensitized to it because I look at it a bit, but I also recognize as well in processed foods that the microplastics, that if I do find some microplastic or anything like that, it is obviously magnified under the microscope. So I think that, it hasn't changed my eating habits personally. I think it's just important that we know how food is processed in that way though, and just be aware that, we're still researching what microplastics are. I think overall they're not good. We know they're not good. But we're in a day and age where it's just fast food is just so
everywhere,
and it's just with our busy lives and stuff, it just seems to be often the straightforward, easy option as well. So it hasn't actually changed my eating as well. I think overall as a population, our life expectancy has increased because of advances in different technology and medicines. Microplastics obviously aren't a good thing, but I think that it's a tough one. Personally, no, my eating habits haven't changed yet.
That's good.
And like, do you? Because I find it quite baffling that in the best way possible that you and Adrian is still working full-time jobs. Like, do you kind of plan to keep it going that way, or you kind of hear there's just like a big vast ocean of like what people with, you know, great followings and people who love what you do, you know, and what can you do with it, and will you ever leave your job?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I don't know if Adrian, do you have anything on that one?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I'm talking so much.
No, it's okay, because I can contribute after you.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Right. So I think, the what can I do with the following and the movement, the 1 million micro movement, in terms of, is it financially viable and that sort of thing. I really enjoy my role that I'm currently working in. And so I'm working in a pharmaceutical, like a patent space.
Yep.
I enjoy that on a day-to-day basis. I've envisaged that the microscope stuff is a hobby still. And I do get deals every now and then. It's a bit of a feast and famine situation for me.
Feast and famine, yeah.
Yeah, it's a real. I understand that it's a very niche area, and only yesterday, actually, it's funny you mentioned that. Only yesterday, I got approached for the first time by a microscope company, a proper microscope company.
Oh, wow!
But they haven't offered any finance stuff yet. It's just like they want to give
contra.
Yeah, it's just like maybe a free microscope here or there, and that's
not at 1.5 million following.
Adrian's part of the TikTok mafia. He'll cut the deals for you.
Nah.
It's tough because I'm a one-man band in this way, and it's just I think some people have tried to take advantage of that.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. And I know for a fact, like I've recently signed a contract to have some of my stuff featured in a Snapchat show, and that Snapchat is that's a conglomerate beast of in terms of revenue. And it was funny, I had a pretty big company approach, like, pretty established online. They've got their hands in all sorts of different other content, and they're just like, you just don't know where it sort of ends and what channels they've got. And they'll say, they messaged me and they said, "Oh, can we use your content? You'll get credit." And it's like, it's been good back in the day. Like when I first started out, no worries. I jumped on those, and I did jump on those opportunities as well. But this particular group, they're looking to do a particular series. It's like food science or something like that. And they wanted to use some of my content. And I said, look, how are you? Because I still don't mind people crediting the accounts. I'm still trying to grow my Instagram. I'm trying to grow my YouTube. If there's a direct link, I don't mind that, because those channels are still a bit small. TikTok, I've got, that's sort of takes care of itself. Yeah. But the other channels, I'd like to spread the wings a little bit there. But yeah, this company, they said to me, I said to them, how do you credit people? And they said, well, they were using a lot of words like, if it ends up on Instagram, we put a link. If it ends up...
it's so corporate, isn't it? Like, it's just, kind of speak but not speak, talk but, can't understand what they're trying to get at. Yeah.
And they're like, and then they said, and if it's on Snapchat, you get a watermark. And I said, well, hang on, I've had my content stolen before and put on Snapchat without permission on channels that have 400 plus followers. These are TV shows. Yeah. And that does not sit well with me at all, because I really don't believe people will go to your channel based on a watermark. That takes a huge amount of effort.
Yes.
To see the watermark and type that in to YouTube to stop what they're doing. That just doesn't happen. And you do not get the traffic that you might want.
No.
It really does rob you. And meanwhile, a Snapchat show is making up in the thousands and thousands of dollars worth from ad revenue. And I've heard that it can be up in about $50,000 per Snapchat show. So
maybe I should. You're really good.
I know. Like, it kind of baffles me though, because it just seems like it's very unregulated. Like, it doesn't matter what niche you're in, what genre. It's almost like you're in a position of vulnerability because you have these big entities, right? And there's no, there's all kind of no. You think of the Bible and there's like, the commandments. There's no commandments to what you guys are doing, even though that some people take off and others just flounder about. And then you hear about Snapchat and the terms and conditions there. Like, how does that even happen? Like, that's what I kind of can't wrap my mind around.
I mean, I've definitely filed for copyright issues before in the past for Instagram and Snapchat, and they've been really good. Within about 24, 48 hours, your stuff, if you have the right evidence, it's taken down. But a lot of people, I think, don't realize it is a lot of effort because you have to go find the links. And mind you, I'm doing everything off my phone as well, so it's a bit harder.
It took me 6 hours to find that link. Because somebody in Instagram took my content, and then it went viral. It's like 3 million. And then my following start telling me like, this is your video.
Oh, right. Yeah, because I think it's actually you. But it's not. Yeah.
And so for me, I've had people take my stuff. They put a link into my Instagram. I'm okay. If they haven't asked for permission, I'm a little bit salty about it, but I will allow it. If it's a Snapchat and someone, like you said, Adrian, messages you, and I've had that happen to say, hey, someone's taking your video, I saw you on this TikTok show, on the Snapchat show, and I know how much a Snapchat show now can generate. To me, that just rubs me the wrong way straight up, because watermarks just do not push people where they need to. And that's particularly important to me, because my channel, like I've been able to use the channel to donate up to about 4 or 5 microscopes to people. And it really is based on the flow of traffic that I get, the donations that people give when I do a live. And I like to use that to help facilitate someone else's learning. And Snapchat, I think, just robs that when someone takes your stuff. It's horrible. But back to, that's a bit of a tangent. In terms of the actual finance, feast and famine. So if I get a good string of deals, it's really awesome. But sometimes, like maybe a couple of months ago, it was just nothing, no deals, which was fine, because then
we've lost your audio.
Sorry about that.
No, you're right. We can hear. Yeah, we can hear you.
We can hear you louder now.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I hope that isn't going to be an issue. If you need to ask any questions, again, go for it. Yeah, but I think in general, the overall, in terms of funds and stuff, like it is a feast and famine thing. And when I get a string of deals, that's really good. But when I don't get deals, I can just focus on my own content, which my fans love as well. Because sometimes I think when you do deals, if you do too many, your account and channel is going to start smelling like a bit sus, Yeah. And you don't want to rob your own voice that you created, and that the reason why people sort of followed you. So I think I'll keep my day job for now. It pays the bills at least.
Do you get pressured or nervous with when it's a paid job, like producing content for a paid job?
Yes. Yeah. I had an experience recently where I had this company reach out and they offered me a pretty consistent amount of money, and I was pretty I think they just said this was going to be over like a couple of months, and the overall sum was pretty good. And I was like, yeah, this is great. I was pretty excited about it. But then what happened was, I think being in Australia as well, we're a bit limited to products from maybe overseas. And so there were a few issues there. I did my best to source some of the products, and I did, and I sent them through some drafts. And what sort of started happening was the videos started moving very clearly away from my voice, how I content create, and it was just coming back with a lot of edits, and there were just a few extra things that I just don't do as a content creator. So, for example, I don't really focus too much on making like video tiles or anything like that for or just sort of, on YouTube where you have like a video and people do upload their thumbnails.
Yeah.
I don't do any of that.
Yeah, so it's like stylistically you're finding that the clients are asking for certain things that you would never do in your own
yeah, right. Yeah. So, and it started becoming a little bit more than what I imagined the deal was. And so, and I think it's just when it just goes through a lot of changes, which is fine. That's part of the feedback process. I make the video as a starting point, and then we try to work on where it goes and what it looks like. But I think that it just started getting a bit too much. And then, whenever I'd get an email, it just started I was thinking about it. I'm having these panic attacks or these anxiety because I have a very tight schedule with work and then the videos.
Yes.
That's my choice. I do that. But it does. Some deals I've said yes to, I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have said yes. And I'm really big on integrity as well. My yes is a yes and my no is a no. And I absolutely hate committing to something and then I don't follow through with it. So, but this was one of the first times I felt, this deal was not what I thought it would be, and I started really second guessing. I'm still committed to it, but
it's still happening now. You're still contracted
for them. Yeah, for this particular series, yes. I don't know what it's going to look like. I wasn't, happy with I wasn't overall thrilled with the final product, but at the end of the day, it's the applicant's product. They want it portrayed in a certain light, and for me, it's just a yes sir, no sir, 3 bags full sir when it comes to those kinds of things. Obviously, I do have a stance on what I'm going to show and what I'm comfortable showing and what I'm not comfortable showing, and it would never ever go against the grain of science.
Yeah.
So there's that line as well. So if someone wanted me to push a particular product, or they're trying to make bogus claims, that's a no for me, and I'd just be straight up no.
Yeah.
But for deals that seem to be in the ballpark of microscopy and they just might want some visuals, it's generally okay.
Yeah.
So you seem to have like a guiding compass, the morals that you have seems to kind of be your North Star. Yeah. And do you find, Adrian, like you have a similar experience to Walt, like where...
I guess the difference with mine is that mine is not science-based. So as long as I'm fond of the product or the place that I go to, I tend to say okay, because I would not say okay to a paid promotion of things that I would not use or would not do. So that's tend to be my guiding compass, is whether I would do it or not. But it is interesting. Earlier, you mentioned go live, and then that's how you fund like the giveaways. Because I do know this with Walt. How often do you go live, Walt?
I try to go live at least minimum once a week. This is a really important thing for me and my channel, because I want to be a content creator that interacts with my followers and fans, because they are what make the channel. And if it wasn't for them, the channel just wouldn't be where it is. And it's really important for me to touch base with them, and it's a nice little avenue for someone to get my attention or have a bit of a small interaction and just show that I do care. I am thinking of all my followers, like I got them on my mind, and that they mean the world to me. So and it's what I've been doing is I go live on TikTok, and that's the biggest live, like 2,000, 3,000.
Crazy. And I like the way that you like. If we hit this amount of likes, I will magnify it 10 times. And then and the thing is, a lot of people who are more opportunistic or more money driven would not say that. They would say like, if I get a certain amount of gifts, I will 10 times. But you say if I get a certain amount of likes. But in fact, what you're doing is the more likes you get, the more your live will be shown to randoms, and therefore the more viewers you get as well.
Invested,
So it's still a win-win too.
It is, and I don't want ever to
be asking for money.
Yeah, because I know like a lot of people on TikTok. I know there have been people who reach out to me. I had one person reach out to me today, and they said, "I love what you do. I don't have any they've only just scraped enough for a microscope, and they're asking for recommendations. They weren't asking for a microscope or anything like that, but I'm really conscious that a lot of people, there are people in my fan base who don't have a lot of money or income like that. And I just don't feel like I should be asking my fans for money. I'm very blessed at the moment in where I am and what I've got. And my goal is just to make it an enjoyable experience. If someone's watching the live stream, that's a huge contribution to me, and that I value that more than anything. But you're right. If it does bring in more people and some people feel led to give, that's really awesome. TikTok do have features that you can set live gift goals, and I have tried it before, but I'm really content in just doing what I'm doing and just showcasing the water bears. And look, so even if we didn't meet the like target, I'd still zoom in anyway.
Yeah. No, but I do notice that with live gifts, like TikTok do take like 70% of whatever is being given to the content creators. So it's a lot of percentage.
So like, because I'm such a dummy in all of this, like how come TikTok Live will take that percentage, but then you go to somewhere on Snap and it seems like you can make a viable product, which is a show that, gives you X amount of money.
Yeah. It's, I think, purely ad revenue. I know Snap.
Right.
Yeah. So
to the creator, it goes directly to the creator.
Not all, I'm assuming. Not all.
Right.
A small percentage like YouTube.
Yeah, a big portion of it. And I think TikTok, though they do have ads, I don't know what what the future for ads for TikTok is going to look like. I'm very interested to see how they integrate that in the future.
I can kind of share something. So I know that with TikTok in Indonesia, US, and UK being the three, one of the top 10 highest user, they have already turned on their monetization. So views do provide them with money as well.
Right.
But like I think Facebook, they limit. Facebook have got two monetization, like the Reels and then the monetization for views for long form. And then the Reels, they cap it to 1,200 USD. And that's the same with TikTok monetization, where they will cap it at a certain amount.
Yeah.
I see. Yeah. So I think, so from that point of view, I think that their ads, they're still working out what that sort of might look like in the future, but they're not as ad heavy as perhaps YouTube, Instagram, Snapchat. And I think, Snapchat particularly make a lot of money. But I think as well that those other platforms might have different reward tiers for the creators, where the creators might get a little bit more of the revenue than TikTok provides. And that's purely, I have no, I've seen videos about it, some big players, complaining about that. The different sort of,
percentages.
Yeah, the percentages. For me, it doesn't bother me too much. So, I can understand the benefit as well if they were to change in the future. Maybe they will. But for me, I'm just trying to get science out there at the end of the day, and I just have the time and the resources to do that.
That's amazing. And, before we go, I have to say, even my son watching your TikTok, he's just, and he's a bit of a nerd. He just loves chess. He loves all that science. And I think it's not textbook, so it's something different. And it's it grabs you straight away and you want to know all about it. And, it's great because, there's no shame in that. It's learning, but in such a fun way.
Yeah, I'm a visual learner myself, and I really struggled with the textbook stuff during school. In fact, I think my science teacher right now, if they knew where I was, maybe they do, I don't know, they would be so shocked to see where I eventually got to. But I always found difficulty learning just reading from a book, and even through university, I felt like I had to spend twice as long and read the same page over and over again before just a small amount of that sort of sunk in. So, and then I had a bit of teaching experience as well at the uni, and I realized there were other people who had the same learning style as me, and sort of, if I was explaining a concept, it would sort of challenge me to try to explain it in a way that would come across well. And sometimes drawing up something on the whiteboard or a visual cue might be the way to go.
Yeah. So we're just turning on the thing. Sometimes the camera recording just turned off.
I think it has its 15 minutes death spiral. Was there anything else?
Yeah. I was just...
there was a bit of maybe the mental aspect of content creating. I don't know.
Downtime.
Yeah. I'm happy to just share just a brief bit on that. So as Adrian knows, it's really important to have I think a network. So myself and Adrian and a few others as well that are in my mutuals. These are people that you can trust as well, who are content creators. And I think that they are the kind of people who are going to know some of the struggles that you're going through as a content creator. I've found that, and so it's really important to be open about mental health as well. I'm a big advocate for it. I don't have a chronic sort of mental health that's just there. I do have circumstantial mental health. So if I'm having a bad week on social media, and that could be anything from I'm not getting the views that I thought I would get, I'm getting some negative comments, I'm getting people that just maybe you just don't feel sort of like you're valued in that way. That can have a huge toll, and that can just change the outlook of the week. You start wondering whether this is a good thing, whether you should continue. And I've had 1 or 2 sessions with I've spoken to someone about it who's a professional, and I just think when I've spoken to them, I think they're a bit shocked that I do have the following, and it feels like they just don't.
They don't have the experience.
Well, I think they come from a completely different, often when you talk to like a counselor or psychologist, they kind of have no, I think it's past a certain age limit almost, and they just kind of, it gets a bit more foreign to them. Yeah. And it's like, so what do you do? Like,
you need to find a psychologist who are familiar with TikTok content creators.
Yeah. And we're in a day and age where that is if you think about it, 20 years ago, these new jobs and entrepreneur content creating was never a thing.
No.
And this is what I found, or have just sort of noticed, is that a lot of them aren't well equipped to deal with that huge following, and that it feels like a responsibility. You're taking all these people through a journey, and sometimes that you're in a way that either you might see yourself as a leader in that way, and that's tough. And I just don't know if they get that. So for that reason, like my social circles, my mutuals and friends, Adrian here and other content creators, it's so important to have people that you trust as well. A lot of the things that I've shared with Adrian via message and stuff like that have been quite just me being very vulnerable as well. It's important as well to know that you can trust those people, because the last thing you want is to drop a message to a content creator that you might trust, and then they take it and they publish it online. And we've seen that happen with the recent Stranger Things debacle.
Yes. Yeah. That's right. The DMs.
Doja.
It's like public, right? Yeah. And you kind of think in that environment, it's like, it's intimate because it's like a personal text message. It's not meant to be screenshotted and then sent to an infinite amount of people. Yeah. And like you said, like having, millions of followers, you wouldn't have that 10 years ago or 20 years ago. So like even Oprah, right? When she does a good show, it's probably in the millions or in the 100,000s. Like, working in TV with the metrics is so like having a hit show would be 300,000 for breakfast TV, right? And then you just quantify that and you think, wow, I've got a direct line to these people. So how people, it would be hard to understand without your core group of peers.
And I understand that though, like a lot of TV stations and stuff may have had the right psychologists and clinical professionals, but as everyday sort of people, like I said myself, don't know who to, like I can go to a general psychologist and try to tell them, but I just didn't feel, and I've just not felt like they kind of could understand what I was going through. So that's why, when I reached out to Adrian back a while ago, because I was, going through a bad week. I just knew that Adrian was someone I could trust. I've never met you in person. I think as well, like the other important thing is what you, from seeing your content and talking to you, you're the same person. Right?
Thank you.
There are content creators out there who have a content creating persona and a behind closed doors persona, and that can be a bit.
That would throw you off.
Yes. No, but I find it interesting when you say that views still impacts you at the level that you are, because I think with me, I try myself to separate myself from the views. I just what's the next content to make? I don't know whether that's a good thing or not, but I think I worry that it will create it will just snowball into this anxiety thing if I am to be impacted by views. It used to, but I think now I try and definitely I'll just move on to the next content.
And you can definitely see there's been even in my small circle, I've seen content creators just go down the drain because they just try to chase that view, and they've got a massive following. And I think sometimes TikTok, you've got the following and it might not reflect the views.
Yes.
vice versa.
Following means nothing for TikTok.